What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. In this video, we're going to be talking about some news that came out yesterday that supposedly, and this is just a report, that the Vancouver Canucks have cooled on their pursuit of unrestricted free agent Jack Roslovic. So we're going to go over an article that talks about this, and then I'll give my thoughts on this at the end, and then we'll go from there. But before we do that, as I always do, I'm going to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you see there behind me. And you guys can check them out yourselves at gassjackart.com. You can also find him on Instagram at gassjackart. There's a link to his website in the description down below. So let's go ahead and take a look at this article from our friends at Canucks Army, talking about Jack Roslovic and some updates on him as well as what it pertains to the Canucks. This article is written by Dylan Nazareth, and he goes on to say, top free agent Jack Roslovic is still up for grabs, but according to a new report, the Vancouver Canucks' interest in the 28-year-old center is waning. One month out from training camp, the Athletic's Thomas Drance published his latest Canucks notebook on Tuesday, touching on the Canucks' situation at center. Drance writes that Vancouver's leadership group has spent the summer examining the available free agent options closely, opting to turn to the trade market instead. This is a quote from Thomas Drance. The Canucks seem to have emerged from that process with a sense of conviction that between a healthy Filipino and the late-season emergence of Aatu Ratu, the club has enough at center to stay in control in the short term if necessary, and that a center-capable option like Roslovic isn't likely to be the full-time answer the club requires down the middle of its forward group anyway. At this point, from what I can gather from senior club sources informed about the organization's thinking on the matter, the Canucks have cooled significantly on the prospect of adding Roslovic as an unrestricted free agent at this point. Vancouver is still in the market to land a center, but the trade market is viewed as a more likely and realistic route of addressing the club's greatest remaining need. On that score, the club is actively kicking tires and exploring its options. Vancouver would execute a trade today if the deal returned a credible middle six center, even if that center had more of a defensive bent to their game. While Drance previously wrote that the Canucks didn't view Roslovic as the quote-unquote the answer to their issues down the middle, this is now confirmation that the team is pivoting away from the free agent market altogether and taking the trade route. Roslovic is actively being pursued by a number of teams as perhaps the top UFA remaining on the market this summer. According to contract projections from AFP Analytics, he is expected to sign for 3 years at $4.1 million annually, which may be too rich for Vancouver's blood right now. All to say, the Canucks are looking at the trade market to shore up their offense for the coming year, but Drance says that might mean it takes a little more time to put things together, suggesting that the club might wait until closer to Canadian Thanksgiving to land reinforcements. With just over $3 million available in cap space, the Canucks are taking the patient approach instead of rushing to spend that extra cash. Depending on what players land on the trade block in the coming months, the gamble could very well pay off. So that is the article, at least the initial article / report from Thomas Drance of The Athletic, basically saying that Canucks have cooled on their pursuit of Jack Roslovic and are opting to go the trade route instead to acquire that either middle six or second line center. Now, my opinion on this, it sucks to hear. Obviously, I am a big fan of Jack Roslovic, and I do think he would be a good option, especially in that 2C role. He's also young, too, and perhaps his asking price is just too much for the Vancouver Canucks. He's wanting a 3-year term at $4.1 million. That's a little steep of a price, and the Canucks are probably wanting something more long-term and don't think Roslovic is that long-term solution. Now, I did talk about Jack Roslovic way back in, I want to say, February, March, that he could be a viable option, and that was during the season. Now we're in, 20th of August now, and he's still not signed with the team. He's still a free agent. Now, obviously, the reports have been there are 3 teams that have shown interest in Roslovic. The Canucks being one of them, Carolina Hurricanes being the other, and of course the third team being the Toronto Maple Leafs. Out of those 3, Carolina has the most cap space to spend, as they're at, I believe, $10 million. The Canucks are second with, that $3 million, and of course Toronto is, in third, as they have the least amount of cap space. They would have to move out cap in order to sign Jack Roslovic. Now, as I mentioned, this sucks to hear because I was a big fan of the idea of bringing in Roslovic. Obviously, there's been talk about, guys like Pavel Zacha and Casey Mittelstadt. Out of those 2, I'm not really fond of either one of them. But if I had to pick between the 2, I would go with Zacha. But at the same time, and this is just my personal opinion, I do feel as though Roslovic has more upside than both Zacha and Mittelstadt. But again, it looks like the Canucks are pivoting to the trade route. And that makes you wonder, who are they going to try and go out and get? If they're not looking to do it via free agency, who can they get via a trade? And they probably know that it's going to be costly. At least with Roslovic, you can basically, you don't really have to give up anything in order to acquire Roslovic. You just have to, throw him some money and term, and then that's how you get him. Obviously, acquiring that second line center via trade is going to come with a hefty price tag. And everyone remembers that line that Jimmy Rutherford said at the end of the season. It's going to be costly to acquire a second line center, and it's also going to be costly not to get one. So keep that in mind. Jimmy said that way back at the end of the season, and we're, as I mentioned, 20th of August, and the Canucks still don't have their second line center. I mean, you could make the argument that Philip Hedl is their second line center, but is he really a second line center? I mean, he hasn't proven it, and obviously there's the concern about his health. But it seems like the Canucks are very optimistic about Hedl and his health, and yes, they're taking a huge gamble on this, on Hedl being healthy, and it definitely has, at least me, very concerned. Do I want Hedl to be healthy and prove me wrong that he can be a second line center? Absolutely. I want him to do that, but I'm not ready to put all those eggs in that basket. So, but I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this new report that the Vancouver Canucks have cooled their pursuit of Jack Roslovic, as it looks like they are pivoting to the trade route instead of free agency. Once again, let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this, and who do you guys think that they could go out and trade for? There's obviously, as I already mentioned a few, Pavel Zacha, Casey Mittelstadt, obviously Marco Rossi, that's a big one for me. I've Mason McTavish, his name hasn't been out there, but I think it's a foregone conclusion. As I've said before, he's staying in Anaheim, and he's too pricey, and that's just not going to happen. So once again, let me know in the comment section down below your guys' thoughts. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find us on social media, as you can see there. You can find us on Facebook, just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram, @The Line Change. You can find us on X, @LineChangeMan. You can find us on TikTok, @The TLC Podcast. You can also find us on Blue Sky, at The Line Change, and feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. If you prefer a audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. Really helps out the channel, really helps out the podcast. So go ahead and do that if you can. And that's going to do it for this video. As always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.